The cafe window fogged up as the rain began to fall, and just as the man stirred his untouched coffee, a soft voice behind him whispered words that made his hand freeze mid-air. "You look tired, like my husband before he left." He didn't know her. He didn't know how she could see through him so clearly, and he had no idea that this single sentence would unravel a past he had spent years burying. Before we dive into this emotional journey of loss, loneliness, and unexpected hope, pause for just a second. If stories that heal hearts and change perspectives matter to you, like this video and subscribe to our channel, Hopeful Stories, because stories like this might be exactly what someone you love needs today. Daniel Cross sat alone at the corner table of the cafe, the one with the wide glass window that faced the street. From the outside, he looked like a man who had everything: tailored coat, expensive watch, calm posture. Inside, however, he felt hollow. As the CEO of a global tech firm, Daniel commanded boardrooms, shaped futures, and signed deals worth millions. But none of that warmth reached him here, in this quiet cafe, where silence pressed heavier than any responsibility he carried. He came here every Thursday evening, always at the same time, always ordered the same coffee, and always stared through the window as if waiting for something, or someone. That never came. That was when she spoke. Her voice wasn't loud, yet it cut through his thoughts like a blade, wrapped in silk. "You look tired, like my husband before he left." Daniel turned slowly. She stood there holding a tray, early 30s perhaps, eyes calm, but carrying the weight of storms already survived. There was no pity in her gaze, just recognition. "I'm sorry," she added gently, realizing how personal it sounded. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just see that look often." Daniel should have brushed it off. He was used to people talking to him with rehearsed politeness or strategic interest. But this was different. Something about her honesty disarmed him. "Left?" he asked before he could stop himself. She hesitated, then nodded. He didn't leave by choice. An accident. 3 years ago. Silence settled between them. Not awkward, just heavy. She introduced herself as Amina, a widow who worked part-time at the cafe while raising her young son. Daniel didn't introduce himself as the CEO. He simply said his name was Daniel. They talked about nothing important at first. Rain, coffee. How people look different when they're tired of pretending they're okay. Amina told him her husband used to sit by the window too, exhausted not from work, but from trying to be strong for everyone else. "Often mix and silence is strength," she said softly. But sometimes silence is just pain with no place to go. Those words stayed with Daniel long after she returned to her work. That night, for the first time in years, he didn't go back to his empty penthouse. He walked instead, letting memories surface, the marriage he sacrificed at the altar of ambition, the apologies he never said, the loneliness he learned to wear like armor. Over the following weeks, their conversations became a quiet ritual. She never asked about his wealth or status. He never asked her for anything except conversation. She spoke of grief not as a wound that bleeds forever, but as something you learn to carry without letting it define your steps. Daniel found himself listening more than speaking, something he hadn't done in years. And slowly, something unfamiliar began to stir inside him. Not romance, not yet, but a fragile sense of being seen. Not as a powerful man, but as a tired human being. One evening, Daniel arrived later than usual. The cafe was almost empty, chairs stacked, lights dim. Amina noticed his face immediately. The confidence he usually wore loosely was gone, replaced by a heaviness she recognized too well. "A bad day?" she asked, handing him his coffee before he ordered. He laughed bitterly. "A bad life choices catching up," he said. That night, he told her the truth about the company, the success, and the cost. How he missed birthdays, anniversaries, moments that never returned. How his wife had once told him, "I don't need more money, I need you," and how he had promised just one more year. There were many, one more years. Eventually, there was no marriage left to save. Amina listened without interrupting. When he finished, she said something that stayed etched in his heart. A loss isn't only when someone dies. Sometimes it's when they're still alive, but too far gone to reach. Daniel's eyes burned, not with tears, but with truth he could no longer avoid. In the weeks that followed, Daniel began changing. Not loudly, not dramatically, but sincerely. He delegated more, worked less, and even started a foundation supporting widows and single parents, inspired quietly by Amina's strength. He never told her at first. One evening, he brought her son a small book, a story about a brave boy and a gentle giant who learns how to rest. Why are you doing all this? Amina asked one night as they watched the rain together. Daniel thought for a long moment. Because you reminded me that being strong doesn't mean being alone. Their relationship never rushed. It grew slowly, like trust after heartbreak. Amina didn't see him as a savior, and he didn't see her as someone to fix. They were two people who had lost different things, learning how to sit with each other's silence without fear. Months later, Daniel sat at the same cafe window, but this time he wasn't waiting for the past. He was present. Amina smiled at him from behind the counter, her eyes lighter than before. Healing hadn't erased her grief, and it hadn't erased his regrets, but it taught them something far more important. That tired hearts don't need grand gestures, only understanding, patience, and hope. And sometimes, all it takes to begin again is one honest sentence, spoken at the right moment. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of someone you've lost, or gave you hope that healing is possible, please like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories. Your support helps us share more stories that remind us all we're never as alone as we think.